Welcome to Rebound TV. I'm your host, Matt Fish. Join me in Conversations with Fish and learn the fascinating journey professional athletes take to get to the top. As a member of the National Basketball Retired Players Association, I've learned firsthand that every player has a great story. Now I have an overwhelming desire to share each player's unique journey with you. Rebound is for all of us. By a player, about the players, for the players, and fans. Because without you, we're just players playing a game. Let's enjoy the venture together with your favorite pro athletes through the years. Okay, welcome Joe Courtney.
Well, thank you very much.
Joe, this is Joe Courtney, a former NBA player, journeyman like myself, and a heck of a journey to boot. And I brought Joe in today to share his journey with us, the Rebound fan. Rebound is obviously a part of the National Basketball Retired Players Association. And it's a way that we give back, and everyone has such a unique journey, and I know Joe does, kind of similar to mine, only different. And I just want to share, and Joe wants to share a little bit about what he's been up to. And we're going to start out with asking Joe, what's it like growing up in Jackson, Mississippi? And I also want to find out, I know that you have a brother, and a little bit about your relationship with him at a young age, what it was like, and how kind of your journey was, what your family style was like back in Jacksonville.
So yeah, Jackson, Mississippi. Wow, that's amazing. It's a great place to be from. Let's put it that way, because I had learned a lot of foundational things that has carried me through. You mix professionalism with being a courteous person and having good family roots, and some of the basics that you learn there. It's kind of awesome to have that, because some of that is a lost art these days, as you know. And some of those things are just things that we were taught as a young age. Now, look, I'm not saying that in Jackson, Mississippi is the only place you can learn good manners.
Sure.
But that was one of the things that my family really pushed, and that's what I got from there. Also,
strong support system.
Yeah. Well,
Awesome.
yeah, I would say, just the way you conduct yourself in life. I learned a good work ethic from watching my family there, but also, holding the door open for people, doing things, saying thank yous, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. I mean, those things that you don't hear much anymore.
Yeah, it's a lost art.
And so as I was coming up and I was making my transition into professional sports, I noticed that people would pause and they would say, "Did you just say yes, ma'am?" I'm like, "Oh, yes." And, "Well, you don't have to call me ma'am." So, you know what? My mother would smack me if I didn't say yes, ma'am.
A term of respect.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a lost art.
It is. And I, even to this day, my son, I instilled that with my son. My son, who's 13 years old right now, about 6'3", man. So he's gonna be your height, not mine. So, but it was a great foundation to have, And then my younger brother, who you mentioned, Marcus. Great guy, and he came along when I was like 11 years old.
Oh, so he's quite a bit younger.
Yeah. So he was like, it was like Christmas for me to have a younger brother, to grow up as an only child. I don't know if you're an only child or not.
I have a brother and a sister, and I couldn't imagine life without them.
Listen, so you get it, right?
Yeah.
So growing up and trying to find things to do and everything else. I mean, I think for the first year or two, I thought he was a toy.
Sure.
I just played with him. I did everything. I named him. I gave him his name. Mom, please let me. So my mother let me name my younger brother, and
really,
and
cool.
I just loved him so much, and I still do today. And but the gap of time is interesting, because there's a lot of things that you experience that. By me being 11 years apart, I try to balance not being a father figure to him, and still try to be a brother.
Right.
But because of the age difference, a lot of the conversation, it's kind of a teaching thing. I'm trying to keep him out of
steer him the right way.
Exactly, that type of thing, and that's a balance. And so as you grow up, it's a little friction sometimes, because you gotta keep on the right path. But he's turned out amazing. And I don't want to take the credit for that, but I'm just glad to be a part of his life as well. So.
Did he play sports?
He played football. Yeah, he played football, and he was a strong kid. I didn't tell him, but I brought him down to the Suns Arena one time when I was training, and here I am working out, doing my thing. And at that time, I was really thin, because they only had 2 spots open. And I said, well, if you want to make this team, you got to play small forward or some backup guard. in small forward and a little, and I'm like, ooh, that means I got to drop, and I was already thin then. So I was 235 and I had to drop down to, like 220 at 6'9", right? And so it took me an hour a day to maintain that, additional after practice to maintain that lower weight. But I brought him down to the arena one time, and he's in high school, right? Young kid in high school, and he's a football player. And I said, "Oh, let me show you how to do." I'm still in the kind of father figure mode, not intentionally, right? And he got on the leg press, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm pumping it out, whatever." And I said, "All right, now you try, right?" So I'm like, "You can, He takes the pin, put it to the bottom stack.
So added weight.
Added weight. No, not added. All of it.
Oh no.
At the bottom.
The whole stack.
It's the whole stack. and he lays on his back and just leg presses it with ease. Oh. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, okay, I won't be showing you how to lift weights. So he's definitely got some.
Yeah, young pizzazz with that. Anyone can do anything your senior year in high school or when you're in high school.
Yeah, but he was. He's definitely. I think he was. He had a special little talent there too as well. So
awesome. What's he up to now?
Well, he actually is working right now on an industry where he's an independent consultant. Okay. And he brokers vehicles, trucking vehicles.
Is he still down there?
No, actually, I moved him here. One of my deals with, as you will get to later on, I believe in empowering people. Yes. And in my book, I talk about empowering.
We'll get to that.
And I had to get him, because once you get to a certain point, the hometown where you are, if you don't have your direction set, and one of the best ways to do it was to get him here and get him in a different lifestyle and understanding, that there's more in life, and give him more vision, and so I brought him. Absolutely. That's so awesome. I brought him down here and opened his mind up, increased his vision, raised his level of understanding, and he's doing great.
That's a wonderful big brother.
Yeah. Well,
sometimes like my big brother, I'm like, come on, man, look out for me.
Yeah. Well, he's still doing it. So, but yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great, man. It's so important to be brought up in a place where you feel safe. You have good support system around you, and not everyone has that, and I'm happy to say I had that as well, and I'm glad to hear you did as well.
Yep.
I know it helps you later in life. Okay, I got another question. Do you have a mentor or a teacher or a coach that you remember as a kid growing up that really steered you the right way, the same way you steered your brother?
It's pretty interesting. Everybody would have that one person, but actually I drew energy from people who were positive. My mother was really positive. She was, if I had to say as a young person, my mother would be that first one, because she always used to instill in me, you can be anything you want to be. You can, just dream. The world is yours. You can just go for it. And she always helped me cast vision, which was a reason why I played basketball in the first place. The reason why I even tried and attempted it, right? So my mother would be the first, and then after that, I was just drawn to people who were positive, and that positive energy fed me. And when you're growing up and your environment is negative, you got to find that positive outlet somewhere. So I actually found it from different places. Whether it be a coach, whether it be a teacher, whether it be just someone who's
took a little bit from everyone.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think that people don't understand. Is that even though having a mentor is absolutely amazing, it's great. I definitely, think that that's the way to go. But if you don't have a mentor, because sometimes when you get a mentor, you got to pay for one.
True.
Right.
Right.
And so in your professional life, when you're growing up, you got to pull it from the people who you look up to.
Well, to have the ability to know that you're going to need that ability to pull it from the other people, that's huge.
Yeah.
A lot of people wouldn't even realize that I need to surround myself with a positive person. Let me get a little piece out of everyone that's positive.
Right.
Some people will start going down the wrong path, and it sounds like you chose the right path with the positive people around you.
Yeah.
And that leads, to me, that lends a lot of prestige to who you are today, being able to pull. And I'm sure you continue to pull from a lot of positive people all the time.
Like you.
Well, bless your heart.
No, it's good. It's good to have positive energy. I mean, you get it, and then it's just good.
I got a question. Any other sports, music, any other things growing up even or now?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm sure you know a little bit about this, but I didn't pick up a basketball to the end of my 10th grade year in high school. And so the thing about that that's interesting is I was in the School of the Arts first. I was a quote unquote gifted kid, which translates when you're young into weird, right? Right. So I was in a program called Academic and Performing Arts Complex, which was for kids that were supposedly gifted in a field, and my field was the field of the arts. And so I painted, sculpted, did everything. I mean, I literally, as early as I can remember, sitting in front of the television when I was being raised, watching Godzilla, I was remembering drawing. I don't have a lot of memories from when I was younger, but those are distinct. Sitting in front of the TV.
So you're an artist.
And drawing, yes. Absolutely.
An artist first.
Artist first. 100%.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I knew you'd gotten a late start playing basketball, and so did I. So that's something else we have in common.
Yeah.
And that's, kind of a strange way to go about it. And most people think nowadays you got to start when you're real young or else you're not going to make it. You and I both made the NBA and we got late starts.
Yeah, and that's a very sensitive topic because I'm glad you mentioned that, because I see a lot of parents trying to live their dreams through their kids, which is awesome. The problem is these kids are still growing, developing, and they're pushing them way too hard. I chose a different path for my son. I got advice from some of the veterans in the NBA, and that told me, listen, don't push your kid too hard. You want it to be his decision, his choice, or his or her choice, right? So my son, I instilled in him God first, second, education, right? And now he's come to me and he's really engaged. Matter of fact, he's going to the gym now. He's starting to pick it up on his own. And I told him, listen, if you want this, I'll show you the way. I'll help you.
Awesome.
I go, but I want you to want it. So I'll love you either way. But I want you to want it. So
I think that's the right approach. I agree with that approach, and I do the same. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. Because look, it happened to me, and I wasn't pushed that direction. My parents weren't even on the booster club. Yeah. And then you're not on this booster club. Oh my goodness. But we made it.
Yeah. And what people should know, Matt, to be honest with you, is that there's two critical elements. Number one, injuries. Okay, so a lot of injuries are happening. Listen, my son has friends who are at 10 and 11 years old, stress fractures.
It's overuse.
Okay, it's overuse at a young age when your body needs the nourishment and growing and everything else. That doesn't mean don't exercise, don't play sports. Right. What I'm saying is that don't push so hard. You're not a professional athlete yet, right?
Limit your repetitions.
Absolutely. Just monitor that. The second thing is in here. So if you're pushing someone to do something they don't want to do, eventually they're going to burn out. They'll do it for you only so long, and then they're going to burn out. So
I noticed you say they'll do it for you.
Right.
For only so long.
Right.
They're not doing it for themselves.
Absolutely. So if they get to a point where they get burnt out on it, and you push them, they're doing for their own, and they don't find their own path through that process, when they need to be engaged and really in it, okay, that's when they burn out. And that was the advice I got from some good veterans, and it's been absolutely priceless for me and my son.
Good. That's great advice. So I have another question. Everyone remembers their first dunk.
Uh-oh.
Do you remember your first dunk?
My first
How
dunk.
old were you?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so this is pretty funny. So as I mentioned before, picked up a basketball the first time my 10th grade year in high school. I had just walked past the gym, had a wristband on my arm, okay? The coach says to me, what are you doing with that wristband on your arm? And I'm like, well, I'm going to be a basketball player.
It's where the rim's going to hit me.
Right? So that's what's in here, right?
Yeah, sure.
But, I had seen Michael Jordan because my mother, the night before, literally, we were watching television, and she was like, you can play basketball, because my dad wanted me to play football. And so anyway, I adapted the sport at that time. I'm going to be a basketball player because I had seen it on television. And anyway, I remember the coach passes me the ball. The ball goes through my hands, hit me in my face, rolls off my feet. Oh. He just shakes his head. It's going to be a long journey. Well, you fast forward, because what I did was I put in a work ethic, because I saw one thing I got from my mother and father, they worked hard. They did instill that. And so I worked really hard, and I started advancing pretty quickly because of the work. And like I said, my body was fresh and new. I had to
have bad habits.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so I remember the first time I actually dunked the ball, and it was and after a practice game, and how all the athletes, and all the athletes are trying to shoot the shots from half court and do all the things that don't matter
when the coach isn't watching.
Well, my biggest thing was I wanted to try to dunk the ball, right? And so I remember going up and dribbling the ball and saying, okay, I'm going to try this, and I went up, and I didn't really know for sure. I just gave it all I had, right?
Uh-huh.
And what happened was, because was such a late bloomer, my body was just kicking into gear. Well, I didn't really know what I had. Well, all of a sudden, I get over the rim, man, and the ball goes in, and I dunk the ball. And I came down, and I kept jumping. I kept jumping. I was like bouncing up and down. I was like, oh my God, I just dunked the ball.
Did anyone see you?
Yeah, a couple of people saw that. So I think I killed the excitement for them because I was so excited. You know what I mean? So, but it was a great experience.
Awesome.
So yeah.
So it was a regular sized ball, 1 foot, 2 feet.
It was 2 feet. Yeah.
2 feet?
Yeah, vertical.
Ah, vertical.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a vertical dunk. Yeah.
Everyone remembers the first time, so I had to ask.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, I wanted to ask too, since you got such a late start, I know the recruiting is different. How was your recruiting experience? I know you played a couple different places in college, and we can touch base on that.
Yeah.
But how did they get there? Recruiting's changed so much with the internet and with everything
Right.
it is. How were you recruited in the late 80s, mid 80s? How were you recruited?
Well, pretty interesting. So when I was in high school, I actually had some local colleges come in, and I got better and better really fast. So even though I started my 10th grade year, by my junior year I'd grown from 6'3" to 6'6". And I got to the point where athletically I was putting my chest on a rim. I mean, it was craziness.
Really?
Yeah, I was.
So you're a natural athlete.
Yeah, I
With
didn't
hard
know
work
it.
and
I didn't know
natural
it, right? Yeah. I was up there trying to paint a Picasso on the backboard, right?
Really?
But
Nice.
but it was an awesome feeling. My point by that is I started getting accolades pretty quick. You know, had a state record of 17 block shots in my junior year, and then coming to my senior year, really kind of rounding myself out. So initially, I didn't have a lot, but then all of a sudden it started coming in, and so the local colleges around me really heated up. There was a guy by the name of Rick Whitlow, who I mentioned in my book, and because I was a student athlete, he tended to really give me attention during that time. So Rick Whitlow actually, when they do news reporting, did news reporting in my town. He really, was just really pumping me up, and it was awesome. Once again, one of those people who empowers and try to bring good people to the next level.
Believed in you, got
absolutely,
behind you,
absolutely,
supported you.
Absolutely. And so I called Rick Whitlow because I'd gotten a lot of interest from the local schools, but I didn't know at the time because it was such a late process that other schools were recruiting me at the same time. Syracuse, Oklahoma.
Really?
Yeah.
So how did you not know that? I mean,
Well, when you're in the school,
It's kinda-
it's all and it's kind of
Yeah.
you're gonna play for the home team. You know what I mean? It's
Sure, I
kind of
get
like
that.
that, right?
Yeah.
That's what you see first. That's what you get first. And and at that time we had a lot of talented athletes coming out that year. But anyway, long and short of it is, I ended up getting recruited by MK Turk, and as well, who was the University of Southern Mississippi, who recently passed, unfortunately, and also Mississippi State University. And so those are the two that recruited me heavy.
and you went to Mississippi State
I ended up
for a
going
couple
to-
years,
yeah.
and a couple years at Southern
And then I
Miss.
transferred to Southern Miss, yes.
And
Yes.
why Mississippi State? Why the transfer? And how to go at Southern?
Okay, so I went to Mississippi State because I wanted to major in architecture. So,
Oh, okay.
so my foundation, who I am, whatever, was
So
gonna-
education.
Education, yeah.
Well, what's that all about?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, that actually
Yeah.
played in. Wow.
Yeah, it actually
Sometimes
did.
I wonder
It actually
about the
did.
mentality.
The
Good.
architectural program,
Good.
and they knew that about me with my mother and everything else, and so they really recruited me hard that way.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great process, and the school was great.
Was it?
It was awesome. I mean, our team was a really good team. We
Did you get some PT?
Yeah. We had a really good team. We had 4 freshmen and 1 junior, and we played teams. Rex Chapman in Kentucky.
Yeah,
We
sure.
played some of the really good teams. They're really great players. Dwayne Chinchis, you remember he played
Yeah,
at
Big
Florida.
Dwayne,
So we had really good teams. We had some great wins, but the team transition with the head coach there, and the way it went, it wasn't the way our future was planned, and with me and my mother. and stuff.
Was it an easy change? Or?
You know what? It was a difficult change. It was easy but difficult. When you put your heart into something, nobody wants to go somewhere and
Not complete what
and
they
not
went there to
complete
do.
what they went there to do,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So I transferred to Southern Miss because for me and what I was trying to do, the style of play, everything was so much more suited for me. They were more of a running gun, up and down team.
Okay.
Had great athletes. Clarence Weatherspoon
Yeah.
was on my team. Darren Jenkins, who's our center.
I remember Darren Jenkins, too.
And we just had a great time, great people, a little bit more open style of coaching, relaxed style of coaching.
Players coach?
Yeah, players coach, and appreciated the student athlete as well. But they respected that, that's your responsibility. And so for me, I was okay with that. So I made the transition and everything was great.
So at Southern Miss, you get better and you get better. When did you think the pros were in your sights?
Well, here's what's interesting. I still wasn't the best player on the team. When I played at Southern Miss, Clarence Weatherspoon was the star of the team. And, even though I was one of them, they had some great players. Once again, I was a late bloomer. So a lot of the things that they had found out and known about themselves in the development of their game didn't happen to me. What happened to them in high school didn't happen to me till college. So by the time I got to Southern Miss, I was still developing.
Okay.
Right? And finally, the switch turned on one night, laying down on the bed and kind of considering what was going on. Things were kind of rough at home a little bit.
Was this self-actualization?
Yeah.
Did someone come to you, or you were just like?
No, it's me. Yeah, I was looked at, and here's what happened. So how I started playing basketball was turning on the television with my mother, and her, telling me that you can play basketball. This is you should really look at this. And I didn't want to play football at the time. I went out and played a little bit. It just wasn't my thing. Probably had something to do with getting hit 3 or 4 times as a wide receiver in the air. So okay, well maybe not this yet, right? So
big targets.
Yeah, right.
Knees.
All legs.
Yeah.
So when I was in college, and like I said, things were a little bit rough. I was going through a rough time in college a little bit. When I say rough time, just socially, because being the student athlete, it wasn't quite the fit-in thing, because when you try to focus on education as well, and you try to keep that lane, there's a lot of things going on. That's when people learn to party and all this kind of stuff. And so, I was going through the transition. Then things were kind of a little bit different at home, you know what I mean? And so I remember watching the television and seeing Michael Jordan. They had won, I think, their first championship. And I remember seeing Michael Jordan on the television grabbing the basketball. And I just saw that all the dedication had paid off, and that he made a statement about being connected, and he dreamed what he dreamed about and things like that. And so it reconnected me with my dream. And so at that point in time, I made a choice, not a decision, but a choice, that I was going to do whatever it took. And so I got up, I started running in the middle of the night. And I said, you know what, in order for me to be one of the best players on this team, I got to be the best guy in shape. I took it a lot more serious. I treated it like a profession. I treated it like it was something that I was gonna be doing for the rest of my life. And like I said, I ran in the middle of the night, so I got in really good shape. The coaches start noticing. I got more playing time and then got in the starting lineup. And
funny how hard work pays off.
Yeah, interesting concept, right? Yeah, right. So,
our journey is somewhat similar. I know that took a little bit of CBA.
Yes.
I played for the Quad City Thunder. I know you were there. I played for the Lacrosse Bobcats. I know you were there. I played against the Idaho Stampede. I know you played on that team. I played against them. Sioux Falls Skyforce was another team you played on. I remember playing against them. What a really good organization there.
Yeah.
They took care of you. I know that you played a lot of different NBA teams like I did, a lot of different CBA teams. I almost have to look back here. You played with Michael Jordan and the Bulls. You played, and that was, I know you always, can you imagine? This is the reason why, and now you're playing with him? What's that like?
Oh my goodness, I tell you what, sitting in a limousine one night, I'll tell you what that's like, okay? So, you know how it is as an athlete, and when you're driven and you have to focus and you finally fine-tune that process of getting somewhere and knowing what it takes to get somewhere and perfecting your craft and everything else. You got to be completely focused. You almost zone out everything else. And even though you're living life, but you're living life in a lane. You know what I mean? You're waking up, you're working out, you're eating right, you're doing everything it takes. 100% of your state of being is about what your goal is, right? So I'm in that process and mentally, and I had actually, going from Sioux Falls Skyforce and getting pulled up by the Bulls. Okay, I ended up meeting Michael Jordan that summer. Okay, I had flown to Chicago and was supposed to get drafted. Okay, and because some greats came out, I think it was Alonzo Mourning at the time, and
was this a '92 draft?
Yeah, it was a big,
Yeah, it was my draft. I was lucky to get drafted.
It was good for you, man. But you remember that year, a lot of people came out, right?
They did.
So,
Shaq.
It was a lot of people decided they were going to come out. I think Larry Johnson came out that year. And so my little hopes were gone, right? But it was my dream that I connected with. And so anyway, fast forward, I remember all the work I had done to get there, and finally, I'm in the limousine with Michael. Him and I become very good friends through the process. We trained together, everything, and he took me in as his rookie. I don't know if he liked my core principles, whatever it is, but he took me in as his rookie, right?
Wow.
And everywhere we went together. And I remember sitting in the limo, and we had left a game. I think it was a game, and he was going to shoot a commercial or something. So he had his uniform still on. We both did.
Okay.
And we had to shoot back to the hotel, right?
Okay.
And so he still had his uniform on, and I'm sitting next to him. He's sitting to the left. And there's a kid in the crowd that's outside, and a kid comes up and says, Michael, can I have your wristband? And we stop the window from going up, and he goes, sure. And he grabs a wristband, he starts pulling off his arm. At that moment, I realized, oh my God, this is the reason why I'm playing basketball. That wristband on his arm was the thing that connected me. And here's this kid coming up. It's like time stood still and slowed down for a minute.
It's kind of like the wristband when the day you were going to dunk it.
Yeah.
Now it's come full circle. A kid wants Michael Jordan's wristband, and he gives it to him.
And he gives it to him in front of me, right? And I hand it to the kid, and Michael looks at me and says, Courtney, what's wrong with you? I'm like, oh, nothing, because obviously as an athlete, you can't tell, you're the reason why I play basketball.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, but
can I get an autograph?
But
That's
at
weird.
that moment, as I talk about in my book, the visualization and dreaming, it was set in stone. That is definitely one of the first key principles you have to do in life is to stay connected to your dream, because it came full circle.
You are obviously a very good speaker, and you've become a motivational speaker. And beyond speaking motivationally, you've written a book. And I want to talk a little bit about your book and what's in your book. And I'd like to even have you tell me a little bit about what you speak about when you motivate others. And really the book, I think, it talks about you and about what it is, but I want to come from you, the book, and I know it's called Life Above and Beyond the Rim, and it's a bestseller right now. And I want it to continue that way. Why do you think it's a bestseller? Tell me what's in it, and give me a once-over.
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, the book is something that's very dear to my heart, because the reason why I wrote the book was because through my journey, as you know, we have unique journeys. And I'm sure you probably had this, but you think your journey is only unique to you. Yeah. And so when it takes something prolific to happen in life, it takes something to happen in life to level the playing fields, for you to realize that the environment, that everybody's the same in one factor or another. We all look different, we all come from different places, but we have similar things that happen to us through our journey, no matter what we do. For you and I, it was professional sports that we were seeking. For other people, it might be in the media, or it might be being a CEO of a company, whatever it is. And so I got to a point when the economy crashed. Okay, I was able to take a step back. And now look, we got damaged just like everybody else in the economy crashed, pretty bad, right? But it was a level playing field. And what I saw was that when the money was stripped away from everybody, one thing that was taken more than anything was their ability to connect to their dream and their vision. And so at that point in time, I had been in real estate for about 10 years, designing and building these multi-million-dollar homes, having great success.
I knew you were doing that.
I had great success with that. I was featured in Architectural Digest and all this.
I remember.
But there was still something missing. There was an empty spot. And so one thing you'll know about people who try to achieve high is that there's never good enough. It's always something. Well, I took a step back and I realized what that was. It was because once you're connected with your passion or your dream, if you don't follow and complete the process of success, which has to do with empowering others at the end, okay, once you've mastered yourself, and learning to empower others is the completion of that process. So when you don't complete that process, you're still searching for something, and you don't know what it is. So I was going through my own journey, rebooting myself after the economy crash again, so I decided to document it. And I decided to go through the process, and it was interesting how prolific and profound each one of those principles were. Simple as they may seem, how profound and a base foundation, and how important they are to success.
So you took note, wrote it down. It makes an easy book.
Absolutely.
How you can take the little bit from everyone and have positivity around you. You know, same
Yes.
thing. It sounds like your book is the way you've lived your life. You know,
Absolutely,
they made
you
the
know,
NBA.
and it's organic, it's real. I mean, it's and I noticed it I was coached by some of the best coaches in the world. I've been in business partners with some of the best business people in the world. I've been coached by some of the top business people in the world, and all these principles apply to everything. You know, they all apply, and so I think it's just a good foundational tool to have. So I'm really excited about it. It's being received well. You know, we were able to hit bestseller in the first 5.5 hours of the launch.
Well,
And
tell me how people can find it. You know, give me the once-over. How can people find this book?
yeah, so the book can be found if you go to joecourtneysbook.com.
Okay.
That's
easy
real, that's
enough.
real creative, right? So joecourtneysbook.com.
Okay.
And you can actually see the book there. You can get it there, purchase it. Also, there's information about the book.
Okay.
I give away a free chapter of the book just so they can get a sample of what's there. But also, too, there's a section there right at the top where someone could actually purchase a signed copy. What I do is I personally sign the copy of the book for them.
Sweet.
Yeah, to make it a little bit better,
Sure.
you know, because
More personal.
even though I do these, you know, book signings and things like that, but, you know, there's people that are around the United States and different parts of the world that may want it. Well, I might not ever get there, or, you know, why wait 2 years? So I want to give them access to be able to get that. So I really appreciate them, you know, supporting the movement of empowerment. So.
Well, I think everyone needs a book. If it says what you say it says in there, anyone needs a little bit of encouragement to get through life and pull that little bit of something out of people around you, the positivity.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you one more question.
Sure, you got it.
This is about giving back. So if you were to talk to a rookie nowadays and your experience of all your days of playing and all your days since playing, what would be some advice that you'd give back to a possible future legend like yourself?
Okay, well, you know, if it's okay if I give you a couple items.
Please.
You know, the first thing I would say is besides the basics, you know, embrace why you're doing what you're doing. Why are you doing what you're doing? You know, here's what you'll probably notice as well. There's so many athletes and so many people, they forget the reason why they started professional sports or whatever they're doing, and the reason why they did it. Okay, so yeah, you end up doing it. Before you know it, you end up doing it. But what was the first reason? What was the original reason? What made you actually try professional sports? Was it to support your family? Was it to, because here's why I say that. Because generally what you do after sports is going to be connected to that original passion, that original desire. See, for some people, sports is a passion, but it's a means to an end too.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so whatever that is connected to, that's your core base. Now, and you can use professional sports to deliver that outlet of empowerment to whatever you're trying to do. And that's how you find your purpose. So,
Bill Russell says, basketball is what I do, it's not who I am.
right.
And I think that's key. You have something to harken back. You have a good, strong background. You have a solid foundation with support. And you knew what you wanted and figured out what you wanted and now know how to circle back and achieve the things you need to achieve.
Yeah.
I just think that everyone should go out and get life above and beyond the rim. From Joe Courtney, I just can't thank you enough for coming out, sharing your experience. I appreciate you because you're a month older than me. Thank you.
It's official.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Thank
hey,
you, man.
thanks, Joe.
Man, that's awesome. Thank you for having me on. I really
Thanks.
appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for joining me in Conversations with Fish. Continue to get fresh new content and sign up. By sharing your email address, Rebound TV will get these wonderful stories to you so you can learn from the pro athletes themselves.